Alex, hey, congratulations on A House on the Bayou.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for checking it out.
I know it was freaky and creepy and everything else in between. So it's one of those type of movies. But tell us the easy question: where the original idea came from for A House on the Bayou?
Well, the original idea started with, how in the movie it's this couple, the guy's cheating, their relationship is falling apart. The original idea came to me about, so often people stay in relationships, myself included, that really should be over. They shouldn't be in that relationship anymore. But it's hard to let go, so they kind of cling on to it, and then the relationship gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then it occurred to me, if I put that in the context of a horror movie, maybe things get worse and worse and worse, and someone turns up and kind of calls them on all the bad things they've been doing to each other. So that's kind of the setup for the movie. This family goes off to the bayou to try to reconnect, but the couple is in crisis and treating each other abysmally. And then this character Isaac turns up, and he's kind of the moral compass who's going to unveil all of the secret bad things they've been doing and thinking.
Now, the funniest thing I find is how many couples do actually, or families, go out to the bayou to reconnect?
Well, it's funny. There's actually, I think COVID has kind of crimped some of this stuff, because the last thing I would want to do after quarantine is go anywhere isolated and stay inside a house. But I think back in the before times, I think, this idea of going to somewhere bucolic and peaceful on the water, it sounded sort of soothing. But of course, these people bring all their terrible emotional baggage with them. And so it ends up becoming literally a hellish experience for them.
Well, tell us then about having your production and filming on the bayou. I mean, you had to do a interesting location scout, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. I love everything. I mean, I grew up in the South. I know New Orleans. I don't know the bayou too well, but I learned a lot about it. So we had a great location scout manager who ended up finding the house in Slidell, Louisiana, in the middle of nowhere, right on the water, really creepy, spooky, visually beautiful, lots of trees and moss, as you see, but a very deeply strange place, but wonderful too. And so for me, I loved it, because it's like, and every day we would bring all the trucks and stuff out there. And so it becomes like this little village in the middle of nowhere. So it felt very isolating, but in a fun way. It's kind of like a summer camp type of experience. So filming it was great. And the bayou lived up to its reputation, because it did indeed flood many times, and there were storms and there were tornadoes. And we got to embrace all the different facets of what weather can do to a film production.
Now this house that's on the bayou, was most of the production there inside that house, or you had to build sets too?
It was mostly inside. Like, the owners of the house were nice, but older, and they really did not want us breaking any of their antiques. And they left a lot of it in the house because it's too expensive for them to move. So for certain scenes, they also said there could be no blood in the house. Or no pools of blood, at least. So for certain scenes, we had to build a little reconstruction of part of the house in an abandoned mall, which is also kind of great, because we'd run around this empty mall. I love things like that. I'm a sucker for strange abandoned places. And so we built this amazing reconstruction, and we shot for about a week in this like odd stage that replicated part of the house, where we could indeed have lots of fun with blood and other things they didn't want in the house. But most of it, I think we shot for like 15 or 16 days just inside the actual house.
So was the house as creepy as is portrayed in the film? Or was it pretty nice?
Even the owners referenced the fact it was creepy. I didn't want to use the word creepy because I didn't want them to feel that I was judging them. But when they were talking about the house, the woman who owned it, I can't remember her name, but she's great, she referenced the fact it was creepy. She goes, "Oh, I love it here, but isn't it creepy?" I'm like, yes, it kind of is creepy. I just want to say it, but it's super creepy. Beautiful, but creepy. I would not want to live here personally. It's a long john. Sometimes people would go by in little boats on the bayou, and they'd always be very unusual looking people, and people lived way out there in the woods. It was a very strange place. It was fun to visit, and I learned a lot about it, but very odd.
I'm curious, is this your first foray into the horror genre?
Well, I mean, technically I would say so, although my previous film, Don't Tell a Soul, was, I think, heading in that direction, because it's a very dark thriller, and there's some, it's not supernatural, but there are some you know, horrific elements, and it's leaning towards that in terms of murder, and it's about these two brothers who are locked in a battle. And so it's already, and I shot it very much like, in fact, my note making that movie was always like shoot it like a horror movie. And so it's a genre I've always loved. You know, I grew up in the era of going to Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video and renting horror movies with my friends. And so it's, you know, ingrained in my DNA, I guess. And I've written a bunch of young adult novels before I had got into film, and some of those were in the horror space. So, but yes, this is the first full-fledged horror film. And it was a great experience. I've always wanted to obviously make a horror movie, so it's fun to get in there and do it.
Well, every backbone for any horror movie is always the villains, where you know, strange neighbors in the bayou and so on. But I want to specifically talk about Jacob, because he really did creep me out. I'm assuming he is nothing like that in real life, but how did he pull that off? I mean, I would not want to meet him in a dark alley, that's for certain.
No, he is fantastic. Like, of course, as you said, you know, in real life, nothing like that. He's the sweetest, most intelligent guy, but he is so good at playing this really disturbing and scary character. And he's someone, I had seen him when he was much younger. He's one of the kids in the movie Mud with Matthew McConaughey, and he's in the Maze Runner films. But now, as he's gotten a little older, he's in his early 20s. He has a really intense look, and he can change. He can shift from looking really kind of handsome like a young Mick Jagger to really like kind of scary and angry looking and intense. And so that was a lot of fun. I mean, he's a great actor, and I think he's going to have, I mean, he already has a good career, but I think he could have a huge career if he wanted it. But he lives in Arkansas. He's very separate from, you know, he doesn't, I think, want to really engage with the conventional film stuff, but just a really interesting, smart guy. And I agree. I mean, finding him to play Isaac, as soon as I talked to him and he started doing lines, and I realized that he's going to be amazing. And I thought he knocked it out of the park. He's really great on all levels. It's exciting for me.
I know the villains you created here. I feel like it's kind of a little bit too punishing for the sins that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
for the movie.
They overshoot more, yeah.
But the family itself, because it's always nice to work on a horror film like this with the smaller cast. But I find it kind of funny about the family is that the mother is doing everything for the daughter, and the daughter was trying to do anything to keep her father, and the father was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Could you talk about that family dynamic that you wanted to portray in that movie?
I always felt that, yeah, I mean, the father is completely, Paul's character, John, is completely emotionally checked out of the relationship, and the way he interacts with Angela, who's playing Jessica, is just horrific. He's like, he won't engage with there's no empathy or kindness there whatsoever. I always felt that he didn't want to look bad in front of his daughter. Like, he always kind of tries to make an effort to look kind of sweet and jocular and nice around the daughter. And like, then when he's around the wife, that mask drops a little bit, and we see the wretched side of his personality. So, and I think it's just one of those relationships that totally ran its course, and they don't know how to really get out of it. And so he's resorted to this, well, I don't want to give too much away, but he's resorted to doing bad things that don't work out too well for him. But for sure, and yeah, and Lia as a daughter is phenomenal. I mean, she's a great actor. She is very young and was able to do all of the things that were required of the role, and she's sort of the only innocent, I think, in the whole film, for sure. Yeah, but it's a very messed up family dynamic. It's not a normal functioning family by any means.
Now, what for back to the villains real fast. How do you describe them in their own way? Because it was hard to actually pinpoint them, because some people would think that they were like creepy neighbors or something more demonic or supernatural. I mean, what did you describe them when you were trying to pitch this to anyone?
I always imagine that there's a supernatural basis. Like Isaac, I always think of is as he kind of says in the movie, he's like a moral compass. Like he's there to test people, find their weaknesses. And so if people have been doing bad things, that kind of summons him up, out of the woodwork, so to speak. And then he comes there and he's always testing. Everything he always says to anyone in the movie is a provocation or something kind of unpleasant. He's not a nice character. And the same for Grandpappy, his partner in crime. And I imagine there's a recursive supernatural aspect to it. So after he's done with this family, even though he's been killed, I don't get too much of it, so I shouldn't say that. But even though at the end of the movie, even though certain events have happened, that he would return in the mythological world of this film. He sort of comes back over and over, and he's given another sort of assignment, so to speak, where he interrogates the moral fabric of some other a family or community. I always imagine it goes on and on and on like that. But I had him be deliberately vague. So anytime he's asked about it, he's always deflective. He never gives like a clear answer. And the same with Grandpappy. Like they want to keep the audience, and of course they want to keep John and Jessica in the dark about who they really are.
So in reality, in their heads or in other people's heads, they're the good guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, I think they always think they're doing good things. Yeah, they don't understand. They see the world in a really binary, black and white kind of way. So there's no subtlety or nuance. It's an Old Testament form of justice that Isaac thinks he's dispensing. So if someone gets killed in a particularly horrific way, if they deserve it in his mind, then it all works out. But of course, we watch that and think, wait, that's maybe excessive for whatever sins they've committed. They probably don't deserve that degree or that tragic of fate.
So now you have a taste of this horror genre. You want to stick in this realm again, or do you want to do others?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love all genres, but I have a particular soft spot for horror. And the script I'm working on right now is I've written a couple of scripts since this, and I'm sort of fine-tuning it. But both of them are actually in that horror space. I think it's a space because I think there's so much to be said, and especially with the way the world is right now, it seems like it lends itself to a lot of horrific stories. And so I'd love to stay in that space, a little longer. But thrillers too. I always love a really dark, twisty Hitchcock style thriller is something I really love.
Great. Well, Alex, I'm going to wrap it up with really one tough question here, because there was like so many things going on in this film, and people are focusing on the family and the villains and the creepy house. My question is, what happened to the cat? Because it seems like we forgot about the cat.
Well, I think the cat actually has a funny story behind it. So in the script, the cat was going to go off with Isaac and Grandpappy. So there was a shot at the end where we were going to see Doug, Grandpappy's body, and the cat was going to be on the body. Lia was going to go and try to get her cat, be like Toby, and grab the cat, and the cat was going to hiss at her with like demonic eyes and stay with Grandpappy. But as it turned out, the cat was not amenable to filming those kinds of scenes, and we didn't want to CG it in and have it look fake. So I left it open-ended. So I like to think that the cat, even though the door to the house has been open so much of the time in the second half of the movie, I like to think Toby has just said, screw this, I'm out. And Toby has just walked out the front door and wandered off into the bayou to chase mice and is having this like wonderful life. But who knows, maybe that's the sequel. The sequel follows Toby Tub Tub. But that's a great question.
I know. I'm a cat person, so for a lot of these movies, I somehow just remember like where's the cat story going to, and will the cat show up in the sequel for any movie?
Oh yeah, let's hope.
So you answered that perfectly, and we'll look forward for more adventures of Toby or Tub that you guys call them on the set.
That sounds great. I really enjoyed talking. Thank you so much for having me on. I was gonna say I really enjoyed talking with you about the movie. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, hopefully there'll be more horror movies. Let's see. But fingers crossed.
Hey, most excellent. Next time we should do this again. Thanks.
Definitely, anytime. I'm totally down for that. I would love that.
Excellent. Bye now.
Bye. It's great to meet you. Bye.
Nice to meet you.